Hiya, so in my never-ending quest to get this place into some sort of organised state, today I'm going to set about building a clamp rack. It's going to go on this wall behind me here, so this will have to come down. It's something a little bit different to the normal clamp racks you see, but stick with me and you'll see at the end what I come up with. Right, so the first set of clamps we need to tackle are these sash clamps. Holder worked really well when I first built it, but of course you end up gaining a few more clamps, the space fills up, and then as you walk in this door you come in and hit it with your shoulder and then the sash clamp falls off, hits you on a noggin. Ain't no good, so let's sort this problem out. Okay, so this piece of 18mm plywood I pretended to find in my wood pile. I decided to take the corners off the edges, so I went over it all the way around with a chamfer bit in the router. And in case you were wondering what a chamfer bit looks like, then it looks like this. Then after pre-drilling 6 countersunk holes in the plywood and the holes in the wall with a 5mm drill bit, I could get this backboard fixed up onto the wall. I'm not using any wall plugs here, instead I'm using these concrete screws that tap their way into the brick as you fix them in. Link in the description box for anyone who may be interested. Next I made these 2 wall brackets out of some scrap OSB. I tried to hide the OSB look by painting them grey, and again I fixed them in place with the concrete screws. Now I can get my 3 long sash clamps loaded up onto them. I made them longer to accept a few more sash clamps should I buy any. Right, moving on to the next set of clamps. I cut down these pieces of 18mm offcuts to the correct widths on the table saw, and I'm going to glue them into an L shape. I made 4 in total, and as you can see here I'm yet to cut the wood to the correct lengths. That I can do over on a miter saw once they are glued up. I can flush them up one side first and then cut them to final length. Now I can set about drilling the pocket holes into them. If I can undo the clamp, that is. Now I know the exact locations of the pocket holes, I can drill out 2 holes in each one with a countersink and fix 2 screws in them for an added bit of extra strength. So when you make these T-bracket pieces, you get your clamp, you want to make sure that this top bit is ever so slightly smaller than this part of the jaw of the clamp, and that is because you want the jaw of the clamp to slightly go over the wood. That will help stop it slipping off, and then obviously it will hang square. Okay, so the brackets are going to fit on the wall like so. Now this is more an aesthetic thing rather than an important step. But on this first bracket, I've drilled the pocket holes on the inside of the bracket, so when it's mounted you can't see them from the outside. On the second bracket, I've drilled them on the outside of the bracket, so that when it's placed up here and there's clamps there, you're not really going to see the pocket holes, whereas if you put them on the inside of this one, every time you looked it up you would see them. Now I can check to see where to place a second bracket. I need to have a clearance at the bottom of the clamp and also at the top of it, so it's not too tight to get them in and out and I don't knock the clamps off next to it. So now all that's left to do is to double check that my clamps fit, which they do great. And as I mentioned about the pocket holes, you can see if I'd have drilled them here on the inside you would have seen them, but by drilling them on the outside of this one and the inside of this one, they are now hidden. So I did the same on the other side, and now I can get this clamp rack loaded up. This configuration of hanging the clamps, by my measurement, saves more space if you have 4 or more of the same clamp. The brackets I've made will take up to 6 clamps on each one. But I do have a few clamps where I have less than 4 of the same one, so I made this more conventional bracket to hang them on, and that worked out well. And then lastly, I made this T-piece to hang these type of handy little clamps on. So there we go, there is my completed clamp rack, and I'm really happy with how this has turned out. Really like the sash clamp storage up here, because now I can walk in the door and the original bracket I built to store the sash clamps isn't overloaded, so I don't get hit on the head by other sash clamps, which is always a bonus. I didn't secure the brackets for the F clamps with glue to the backboard, and that's purely because it's an ever-evolving thing here in my workshop. If I decide to change my clamps or add to them or even get different ones, then everything can be removed off of here without too much trouble. And plus, the way that I've put the pocket hole screws in, I think it adds enough strength anyway, so I don't think glue would be necessary. Big shout out to David Shorthall for coming over to Patreon and joining me on there. If you liked the video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Comment below if there's anything you would have added to it or done differently. Hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.